This is the recap of the Marvel Fortnite Zero Wars collaboration issue number 3. If you're not caught up on issues 1 and 2, you can go check out my videos on those. We pick up where we left off with the Reality Zero team finding the Paradigm in the mech on the Ice Moon. While Scientist is happy to find the Paradigm, the Foundation interrupts Iron Man's introduction of himself to call her out on being a traitor. The Paradigm explains he's got it all wrong. That yes, she worked with them willingly, but only because they threatened everyone on the island, suggesting they'd stop the monster themselves with a doomsday device just to protect the Zero Point, at the expense of everyone else on the island if she didn't just help them with the mech. The Scientist and Stark believe her, where the Foundation says he'll take her word for it, but won't let his guard down. Paradigm comments on how they came looking for the mech and not her, and that if they need the mech anytime soon, they can repair it, but it'll take forever to power up. This is when Stark references that a fragment of the Zero Point is being hunted down by a small team in Universe 616. We cut to them to find them fighting dinosaurs and hybrids in Marvel's Savage Land. The 616 crew takes down the crowd they're fighting and save one to interrogate, but since none of them speak reptile, they decide to make camp for the night and track down the den later. This is when Wolverine says that, and I quote, "Triceratops are actually pretty good eatin'." Then Spidey sees him and wants to throw up his Wakandan fruit roll-ups. Wolverine and the Imagined have a discussion about their ages. He confirms her suspicion that he's lived much longer than most people of his species, that she and her sister, the Order, were enhanced by their father at the genetic level before they were even born. Wolverine says that sounds like the work of someone he knows. Sinister. Imagined says her father's name is Gino, a name Wolverine immediately recognizes as the boss of the IO, the guy they're trying to take down. Imagined tells a sad tale about how her and her sister were blessed with immortality and felt the Omniverse was their playground, only to find out Gino made a bet with someone that his girls would be the first to make it out of the loop. She described the loop again as the part of Reality Zero's island where beings lose their memory and all knowledge of who they are, where the storm resets things every 22 minutes and all you do in the brief window of awareness that you have is fight to the death. She said they did escape the loop, but they weren't the fastest, and when they came home, they found snapshots of themselves from the loop living there already instead. Imagined comments on how she doesn't know why she's telling Wolverine all this. He replies that it's because she's hurt, and he's here. He continued to say that her old man is a tool, and that her sister is very special, and must consider the Imagined to be very special as well, and that he agrees that she is. It's at this moment the Imagined simply grabs Wolverine as he is walking away and plants a kiss on him. This is great because it reverses the gender roles here by pinning the forever trying to be masculine Wolverine in what's stereotypically portrayed as the female position in the kiss. We cut back to the other crew where Shuri and Jonesy are comparing vibranium to the Zero Point, putting Spider-Man to sleep. Spider-Man talks about getting the Imagined and Wolverine ready for bed, to which point Shuri stops him and says, "They're fine. I have the senses of a jungle cat." To which Spider-Man replies, "Well, how do we know that they're..." And then pieces together what Wolverine and the Imagined are doing. Then Shuri turns around and tells Jonesy that if he can't sleep, he should find her to talk more about the Omniverse. Then says, "Just in the interest of science." Of course. Sure, Shuri. To which Spider-Man replies that while that was definitely flirting, Jonesy needs to think about his wife and kids from the picture he keeps staring at. Jonesy tells Spidey they're no longer around, that they actually lived a good long life in comfort, but that he is immortal since joining the island management team. He says that after they passed, he tried to quit his job at the IO to go grow old and live out his days with his grandchildren, who he hardly knows, but Sloan threatened them if he quit, so he stayed to live for his job, for his descendants that he'd never met. This makes me wonder if we've actually seen Jonesy's kids before, on the island, or if we will see them eventually in the future. Jonesy considers if anything he'd done had been a mistake, but that he wishes he'd done better by his family when he had the chance. Spider-Man relates over wishing he'd done better in the past, and reminds Jonesy that they should get some sleep, but that he could go see Shuri if he wanted. Jonesy solemnly says he'd prefer to spend time with his family, and lays down looking at their picture some more. We cut back to the Imagined and Wolverine chatting about the war. Wolverine asks her if this whole war is just getting back at her dad. She says, "For my sister it's about helping people, but for me, yes." Wolverine asks what's next once they win, and kinda starts telling her she could start over after, and she quickly shuts him up by saying, "Wolverine?" He says, "Call me Logan." And she says, "Logan, I like the fact that you don't talk much." The next day, they're tracking the hybrids down and find a base, which Spidey says might be too big for Stegron. Only for Stegron and pals to immediately tail whip him and say, "Nothing is bigger than Stegron." Then they see the High Evolutionary, who says while he has no quarrel with Spider-Man, he knows what they're here for, and he won't give up the Zero Shard. He goes on about how it's helping him evolve to new levels of genetic perfection, something the Imagine says she's already familiar with and not fond of, and then punches him in the face. High Evolutionary shoots lasers out of his eyes, and the Imagine shouts, "Logan, look out," which Spider-Man comments on instantly. "Oh, so it's Logan now. Can I call you Logan?" Which is hilarious, since he's probably only commenting on this since he knows what they did last night. While fighting, High Evolutionary tries to get the Imagine to switch sides and work with him, to survive what's coming. She didn't take too kindly to that, and keeps up the fight. Shuri tells Spidey that he needs to go find the shard, because the High Evolutionary's defenses are programmed to ignore human-animal hybrids, and Spider-Man is considered part spider. He gets to where he needs to be, only to find that Dr. Doom already beat them there and made off with the Zero Shard, revealing he controlled the hybrids all along, and they led Spidey and team to the Zero Shard, just to distract the High Evolutionary so he could steal it first. With nothing to fight over anymore, the team and the High Evolutionary figure out that Doom actually went to Reality Zero, and discuss teaming up to take him down and get the shard back, an offer High Evolutionary declines. The team opens up a portal to go back to Reality Zero, and the High Evolutionary who stayed behind ends off by saying that now he has to prepare for the end of all realities. The next issue comes out on August 31st, so stay tuned for the recap of issue number 4.